Hey everyone, welcome to Crowdsourced Illuminations. We've got Amber here from Grow Baby Grow, and it's a new YouTube channel, and it's focused on. Well, why don't you tell us about your channel, Amber?
The channel is pretty much about all things plants and how plants can improve our world and ourselves at the same time.
Yep, and bring us peace and
Yeah,
solace
and so I'm going
and
to be
oxygen.
doing like house plants for people that can't get outdoors, outdoor gardening, tours, interviews, field trips,
Awesome!
science experiments.
Oh, how fun!
I'm
Speaking of
excited.
science experiment, the silver maples, the little helicopters that fall off?
Yes.
I told my kids that those were seeds for the trees, and they
Hmm.
didn't believe me. And so we had this big pot that something had come in that was huge, and I just threw that in there. Girl, it's like a 30-foot tree right now.
It's
It,
amazing.
it is. And they're like, wait a minute, that's from that helicopter? I said, yes. Don't you remember? You're
Isn't
happy
that
with your.
amazing though? Because
Yes,
that's one of the
it is.
things that you get to see with your own eyes effort,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah. And you get to see, like, okay, this really is that's amazing
Yes.
how this
I
tree
have my
has
little
evolved.
plants here. These are my babies.
Oh,
This is
I
one of my
can't.
babies.
Oh, is it a philodendron? I can't tell. Oh, no, no.
It's a begonia and I just
Oh, I
got
love
it. So
begonias. Begonias are beautiful.
everybody has to kiss a plant once in a while.
Yeah. And Chris says that he's happy with his mental health the way it is, which is great. Plants just kind of augment what you've already got going on, and might not be for everybody,
Yeah, but
but
there's really not any downfalls of gardening. However, gardening
except for
doesn't have
maybe
to
expense,
be. Yeah, but it
maybe.
doesn't have to be like a 10 by 12 garden plot.
Right.
A garden can be just, a group of plants, just two or three
My
plants, and that can be your garden
my whole backyard I've just kind of made into a garden. I just plant stuff randomly anywhere. And so
and see what
it's
happens.
yeah, and I plant all kinds of volunteers. I'll move them, to a spot where they'll do better and that kind of thing. Because I'm really into indigenous plants,
Yes.
and so they take the least amount of maintenance because they're in their natural environment.
Yes. Native plants are the Native Plant Society, almost every state has one, and you can go to their website and you can get a list of plants that are native to your environment, and
I
then
had
those will
no
be
idea.
much easier to grow. And then if you really want to get involved, they do seminars and like job fairs and things, and they'll send you a packet, and then you can put up your own little booth and you can talk all about native plant species.
That's really really cool. Sorry, I is do you know, is it one organization or is it
Well,
within
PA
your
has
state?
their own native plant society,
Oh,
and there
okay.
probably is like a federal, but because plants are so specific to the environment, it's usually you'd want to go to your state website.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know that I can send a sample of my soil to a certain place, and they'll check it for me and tell me what I'm missing, like as far as
Hmm.
fertilizer, if it's low in nitrogen or whatever that it might be. And it's the Purdue University, because it's a school of agriculture. I mean, we're in
Hmm.
Indiana, so lots of
And a lot
farms.
of colleges that are near you will have an extension. And the extension is a place that, like, Penn State Extension is the one that's closest to me. And they have master gardeners there that offer classes. Some of them are free. They go to, like, where they're building new house, those kind of fairs. And they're a really good source of information, especially for your local climate, is to contact your like biggest university. Just search like whatever college you're next to extension, and that's usually the plant like department.
Oh, well, that's our, you know what our high school does here is about this time every year, they have their fundraiser is a plant sale. So they sell, yes, they sell baby, all kinds of different tomato plants, all kinds of like, cucumbers, peppers. They even have some fruit trees that they'll sell every now and, like if they get them donated to the trees, but the plants they buy at a low cost. And so it's pretty neat actually because, you know, they get to learn something about plants and the earth and also a little bit about survival, might need to
Yeah.
know how to grow plants someday. You never know.
Yeah, I'm planting and gardening has gone up with the pandemic actually because there was
Yeah.
this scare of food scarcity, and people
Yeah.
thought there wasn't going to be enough food on the shelves and things. So a lot of people got into gardening, and there were a lot of children home. And like, what are you going to do with your kids all day, you know? And
Right.
so it just is another opportunity to spend family time, but not indoors family time.
Right. And get some exercise.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting how the pandemic has changed us. And I think it's changed us forever in a good way. So it's
Yes.
interesting. But Amber, you mentioned an article that was really interesting. It was from Psychology Today, and it
Hmm.
was talking about how gardening and using your green thumb can actually improve your mental health. Um, can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, so this article, it lists 10 benefits, but what do you have to think of when you think of health? You're thinking of like wellness. And so I made a little diagram for everyone at home. I don't know if you guys can see it,
Oh, hold on a
but
second. We will be able to see it. Hold on, hold on. I think we'll be able to make it bigger.
it's kind of sloppy.
Okay. It's
But
hard to. Oh,
when
oh,
you're
look at
thinking
you.
of health, you don't just think of, like the health of your immune system, the health of your body systems, the health, you want to think of your physical health, your social health, the environmental health, economic health, and psychological health. So today we're going to be talking primarily about psychological health, but gardening is one thing that is really easy to meet all of these criteria to improve
Yeah,
your generalized well-being.
in that article they did talk about physical and social health
Hmm.
and environmental health.
Yeah,
So
this is just like some people are really visual, and this kind of like helps
yeah,
me
I love
when I'm
that.
reading articles to place things in a spot, and then when you try to recall it later, it's easier to recall sometimes if you have like a diagram, and it's more
I
tangible,
love that. Yeah,
besides
that's
like
awesome.
reading an article. So not everybody is analytical or
Or
academic
likes to
even,
read.
and you don't have to be
Right.
academic to learn how to garden well, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's why there's people like me, so,
Yeah.
and like you, so
And
that
yeah,
we can help
exactly.
people help themselves is
Yeah,
what we like to do. I have so
exactly.
many pamphlets about plants.
Hi, AJ. Thanks for coming.
Oh, let me pull up the
Allie's
article.
here.
So I have so many
Okay.
articles, but let me just pull this one up for you. Mm.
As always, you guys, if you hear dogs barking, snoring, any kind of weird noises, kids in the background, music, um, Amber and I, the road still continues even when we're online. So,
Yeah, you might hear my son wake up, and I will just apologize in advance for that. But I do
I
have
have
someone here to
one,
watch him.
yeah, I have
So,
one son that'll be walking in here in about, 40 minutes or so. So y'all might hear that. Or my other son's home and he's doing homework. So,
well, you do look amazing now that I can see you very
oh,
closely. You look
oh, thank
outstanding.
you.
You're
Oh,
like
thank you.
glowing. Your light is amazing. I like your shirt. All of it.
Oh, I actually have natural light today instead of filming it,
Must be nice. You
at
know,
night. Yeah.
I have a up light. I mean, the regular light. I have this light and the light behind me and the window open, and that's how much light is in this room. So
Holy smokes.
yeah, you
Wow.
know.
Well,
But
this
when we
window
just
just
talk
happens
about,
to get a
yeah,
lot more light. Yeah, go ahead.
well, you're good.
Hey,
One,
Melissa.
I wanted to talk about there are elements of healthcare, and so there's the curing element, and the curing element is what doctors, nurses, surgeons do. They repair bones, they take out organs, you know, they go in and clear out your arteries. That's the curing element. Another element is healing. And healing takes place actually inside of us. So nobody can heal our body for us. A doctor can't make you heal. Healing has to happen within the individual. So that's actually the process of your cells growing back together and repairing tissue. And so that's an individual. It happens on an individual premises, you know. And then
Yeah.
the third part of healing is curing. And so curing happens when we have like palliative care and home health care. And this is where the patient and the medical staff and family members are all caring for somebody, which helps with healing. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
there's curing, healing, and caring. And caring for a garden can, if you can care for a garden, it will make people feel better and then for care better. So that's like if you go to a hospital and you see a garden and you go, wow, that looks really nice. Then in your mind, you're going to say, wow, if somebody takes care of this garden really nicely, then they're going to take care of me really nicely.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And
true. Our hospital has a rooftop garden, and
mm-hmm,
the vegetables are sold in the cafeteria, and
isn't that
there's
awesome?
a working beehive there
That's
that they have.
amazing. You know,
Yeah, it's
and
really,
studies show
you're
that
right.
people do better. They respond better. And so, like, if a patient, there's this one study where a patient was exposed to 8 different species of plants, and the patients that were exposed to plants versus the patients that were just exposed to like regular art or no plants at all reported higher levels of pain reduction and higher levels of satisfaction within their whole treatment. And so people are
Oh,
trying to understand why exactly that is, you know. And so that's where the studies are right now, are trying to actually understand what are we getting from plants and why is this happening within us. And I think as our society, we tend to think that getting better or improving your neurophysiology or your physiology at all comes from pharmaceuticals, you know, from like
hmm,
medications, and I need to
hmm.
take this to feel better because it meets your needs like right now. But what we don't often talk about is the long term effects of these medications and the long term effects of changing your lifestyle so that you can improve your mental health over time. From one study, there was playing in soil, which is a fancy word for dirt. Playing in soil for 5 minutes can reduce your fight or flight response to tend and nurture. And so that's the exact opposite, you
Oh,
know. And so just
yeah.
5 minutes of tactile stimulation in soil, and scientists don't know why yet, you know. And so it's a really interesting place to be coming from a scientific background and doing plants, you know. And
Right.
so I just wanted to give us kind of an open thing about health, and now we can
Yeah.
go into specifically the mental health because I think it's kind of important to understand it's all a part of a bigger picture, you know.
Hmm.
And so mental health without physical health isn't really great either. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so we really are, as human beings on this planet, we are a part of nature. We are nature. You know,
We're part of the ecosystem.
we're just another organism on this planet.
Right.
And the thing is, we have so separated ourselves with walls, with clothing, with shoes, ceilings, and this is what's separating us from nature. But originally, we were meant to be in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of years ago, our forefathers were all gardeners. We're all
Yeah.
scientists because that's how you learned that through the
Mm-hmm.
trial and error, growing a plant and seeing what happens, what works and what doesn't work is scientific process. So we are
Yes,
once you become a gardener, you are a scientist. Whether you're
that
3
is
years old,
true.
whether you're 20 years
Yeah.
old, whether you're 80 years old, you're automatically a scientist. So you get
That's
smarter,
really
you
interesting. I
know?
hadn't thought of that, but you're right, because it is the scientific process. You have a theory, you test it, like, I think this plant will do well here. You test it, and it's like, oh boy, no, it didn't do well there. But now I know for future, so you're learning and formulating new hypotheses.
Yep. And what will work next time? What can I do in the
Right,
future? What didn't work in the past? What is this person
exactly.
doing? What are they doing
Yeah.
over here? And then how can I relate that to me and
And that's
making mine
another
better?
that's another point, is that sense of community. I think that article brought up. So
Yes.
talk
With
can you
community, especially during COVID times, we're so separated, right? And it's in a way that's not natural and in a way that our society hasn't really felt in our generation. Maybe like, in 1918, there was epidemics. There's been epidemics throughout our history, but we forget about those. We don't tell story. We don't have that storytelling like with the
like we
Aborigines
used
that,
to?
you sit
Hmm.
around the campfire and you tell stories and that's how you learn about the world.
Right.
And now we go to school and we learn what somebody tells us to learn,
We learned their
somebody
version of,
sets a curriculum. Yeah.
right.
And so plants and being a part of nature was all just written out at some point. You know what I mean? And community is really, really important for human beings to feel a sense of connectedness. Even when I know a lot of us identify as an introvert or as loners, but even in that, there are still activities and interests and topics that bring us all together. That without that, it would be a much reduced sense of well-being. And so like
Right.
even the person that never leaves the house and just plays video games, they're still playing video games with others, and so that's still a sense of community. And what gardening can do is bring together non-traditional friends and family and have them have a common ground. So we could know nothing about each other. We could have different religious beliefs, but growing plants together is a way that brings everybody together, and they don't even have to speak the same language to speak plant language. Do you see what I mean? And so
Yeah.
community is
Yes.
really important for mental
Like,
health. And the
mm,
more support you have, the more support systems you have, the more connections that you have, studies show the better you will do from a mental health aspect.
right.
People that struggle with mental health,
Especially
I've
depression, anxiety, you still self isolate.
yeah, and those people tend to lack support systems, and a gardening club, or even if it's just you and a neighbor, even if it's just you and somebody you've never met before, once you learn about plants, you have a common denominator and you can talk about it. You can say, just passing somebody, oh, I see your plant. How is that? And that's just one more connection that you're making, and that's what
Mhm.
is really healthy, those connections. So you want to think about how
Yeah.
can I be more connected in a healthy way,
Hmm.
in a healthy activity. And gardening is one way to connect you with the world
And
around you, with the world beneath you, and with the world within you.
yeah, it's funny, because speaking of community, last night we were in watching a live, and we were in the live chat. And earlier in the day, you and I had discussed plants, and oh my gosh, have you ever actually mourned when you've lost a plant? Like, it just makes you sick that it died, and you feel miserable about it, and you walk past the pot and you're like, depressed
uh,
when you see it.
uh,
And yeah,
yeah.
and so we had talked about that, and then in the chat, somehow it came up that somebody had lost a bunch of plants, and um, we talked about it with her, and she
Hmm.
mourned her. I mean, she's still mourning. She's devastated over the loss of her
It's
plants.
you will
But
you
we made
become
that
invested.
connection
Yeah.
with us
Hmm.
three. And so it was a connection, and but it's
And that brings up
interesting how
one
you can form
more.
emotional bonds
Yeah.
to your plants.
Well, that is one of the things that is another benefit, is that you're putting effort into something besides, but just focusing your effort into, this little plant, even if this is like the only plant you have, right? Like this is a 2-inch pot. This is like the smallest plant you can buy
Oh,
probably of this
oh, it's
size
a
at a
prayer
granary.
plant. I
Yes,
love
I love
prayer
prayer
plants.
plants, and I always give them to relatives when they are in
They're
the hospital.
because you can just break them off and stick them in dirt, and they're the easiest thing to grow ever. And then I love how they come up at night and
Yes, I love
down
prayer
in
plants,
the day.
and they're actually really they're good for pets. So they're one of the few species. Almost any calathea is the or like calathea is a species, but there's
You're
different
talking over
versions
our
of it.
heads, Amber.
Oh well, calathea is just a
Keep
class
it
of
with
plants.
English instead of
Yeah.
Latin.
Oh yeah, see, I know the Latin. So calathea is just if you go to any green store or even like Walmart and Lowe's and you can ask them if they have any calatheas, they might not know. But if you look on the label, calathea is one of the ones that's safe for, it's non-toxic, it's safe for cats and doggies. So if they do, cats and dogs have a way of, tearing up your yard and your house plants. This is one, whereas the begonia is beautiful. This one's called Tiger Kitten. This is one of my
Oh,
favorite begonias. I don't know if you can see like the beautiful veining
it
and
is
stuff, but
gorgeous. Is it variegation? Is that what that's called?
this one isn't variegated. It has
Oh,
veining, but it
veins
does
because
have
it's going
different,
down the
yeah.
stems. I see.
And it has some insignificant flowers, these would be called, because they're not like
Oh,
showy. But this one is
right.
toxic to dogs and cats, so it's also not an easier plant to grow.
No,
Calathea
it's not.
is sensitive to moisture, but it's easier than a begonia,
Oh,
and it's
for
more
sure.
forgiving. And so like, okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about another aspect of mental health is acceptance. Okay. So let's say Calathea is also sensitive to fluoride. So if you just use tap water to water it, you may see some browning at the tips and you're like, oh, why is my plant turning brown? And it's so sad, right? Because you've tried so hard to keep this little plant alive. And learning to accept that there are things beyond your control, you practice with plants. So I tell people I know about plants, but plants have taught me about people. So accepting that my plant, there could be bugs, there could be inclement weather, there could be soil-borne diseases. There's 1,000 things that can go wrong with plants. And there are many of them are not in my control. So accepting that I don't have that control all the time is another part of having a healthy mental health. Do you see what I
That's
mean? So
yes.
when you think about your plant, if you can relate what you've learned to your plant to your world in everyday life, and you will eventually, if you have a plant for long enough, you will. Especially if somebody, like if you just bought a plant and we didn't have this conversation, it might not have as much meaning for you as once you've learned how tending to plants and you're tending to your own mental health.
Into your own wellness. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that, by tending to your mental health, your psychological
Oh,
being, then you're tending to your whole well-being as a whole.
yes.
So it can't get
Uh,
worse.
yeah. Colitis. Well, unless you lose a bunch of plants, and then you could get depressed
I've
because
lost all my plants, and
yeah.
it was the most challenging winter I've been through in a long time because it was so
Oh.
much of who I am. I'm a gardener, and so every single day, I had giant 5-foot plants and they like draped over my bed and it was
Oh.
magical. And so without them, I have like 4 walls and like these lights. But like,
Yeah.
those don't make me happy. Like a
Right.
house should make me happy, but
It should feel like a home.
like, yeah, but it doesn't. I feel like I need more. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Ali is saying, there are also studies that show um spending time in nature or having green space, people, for alcoholism, for example. One of the studies had alcoholics that went through a natural program, and half of them chose gardening, and the other half was put into art. And like art therapy is really common. Everybody knows about art therapy almost, but horticultural therapy is a newer topic and less talked about. And people don't like, oh, it's just plants. Ugh. But studies show that the people that were in the plant section, even after they reported uh, higher acceptance rates, they reported feeling better, they needed less pharmaceutical inputs. And then even after that study was gone and they weren't exposed to plants anymore, those benefits continued for months. Whereas the
Wow.
people that had art did have some benefit, but when they did a survey, they they didn't score as high on the how they felt about the program as a whole, how what they
Mhm.
felt they got out of the program, and then after the study was over, those benefits decreased rapidly. But planting and
I can see
gardening
that.
carried on, even if they didn't have any more plants in their home. So that's another area that people are trying to study and figure out, why do plants have this effect?
Yeah, I still stick to that whole emotional bond thing that almost anyone forms with the plant when they have it in their hand and they're caring for it or repotting it or whatever it is they're doing. That is an emotional bond, even though you don't realize it. Just like with your pets,
Hmm.
and we know
My
pets
plants
heal.
are my pets. They were
Yeah,
before I had a dog. My
yeah,
plants were like my little babies,
yeah.
and um, they were important to me. And they were and something I could share, something that connected me to people, that connected me to the world, that connected me to my environment, and connected me with patients when I had my own patients. And people actually will heal better after surgery and everything if they've been exposed to plants. Even pictures of plants have shown to have positive effects on the healing process.
That is so interesting. I was gonna pull this article up, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. So I apologize for the screens moving around. I just didn't. I wanted to warn you that I was going to come back. I apologize for that.
That's
I
okay.
think. I think another point on the in that article there were a couple. One was the exercise alone and being outside, the fresh air. That
Yeah.
is, cardiovascular health, um, blood sugar.
Exercise is proven to help increase mental health. And so a lot
Yes.
of people, for me, example, I can't walk well, right? And so I
Mhm.
can't walk far. I can't run. I used to run and I can't run anymore. So I can't lift weights like I used to. There's so many things that I could list. I could list 1,000 things for you that I can't do. But when I go outside and garden, you don't need to have complete mobility in order to garden. And you don't have to be there and sitting at one spot with your arm up or somebody telling you to do this or that. You don't have to go anywhere and expose yourself to COVID. These are things that you can do to improve your physical health just by gardening. So, picking up stuff, bending over, these are using all of your major muscle groups. And there's
Mhm.
really not another activity that is physical without being exertion. And
Right.
so, like, sports is exerting physical activity, whereas plants is a more of a passive kind of physical activity.
Right.
Gardening is gives you a passive physical activity. Weeding, bending over, you're going to break a sweat. I guarantee you. If you start a
Yeah.
garden,
Yeah.
even if you're in a colder
Absolutely.
climate, you're going to, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a good tired, instead of being tired, like depression causes tiredness, right? And fatigue, right? And so we've all had some depression in our lives. Even if we're not clinically depressed, we have all
Hmm.
experienced
We've
depression.
had the
And
blues at some point. Yeah.
and just kind of moving your body, even when you're not feeling well, is one of the hardest things to do. But
It really is.
even if you can't go outside, right? Even if you're just tending your house plants with people with like very limited mobility, this is still just this repetitive acts and moving stuff and turning is still going to increase your range of motion.
Right.
So you don't have to do like one and two and one and two, you know
Right.
what I mean? In
Doing it
order
now.
to feel physical health benefits, you don't have to do
Right.
that. That's really for, adding endurance and adding strength, which is
Yeah.
a whole nother, you know, kind of physical movement.
And that, when you were describing that, you brought up another point that the article made, and that was accepting imperfection. And so, our bodies are imperfect as well. And so, kind of, that's almost like a mirror. The plant is a mirror of our body. If we tend to and take care of it, then we'll do our best to make it healthy. But, that it has its own system as well that can, like you said earlier, if it's not healthy, there's a gazillion things that could affect it that you don't have control
And they
over.
will, you know.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
it's you can make the best little, I can sit here on my notebook for 20 hours a day and plan out my garden exactly how I want it to be.
Yeah.
But there's
I've done
always going to
that.
be inputs from the air, you know what I mean? What's pollutants in the air. Somebody could spray
Mhm.
their yard with a
Roundup.
pesticide that could,
Yeah.
spray over years and your plants could die. It could be lack of
Right.
sunlight, lack of moisture, too much moisture. These are things that are beyond our control. And if you have to think everything is perfect all the time, it increases your stress level.
Yes.
Okay. Even though it feels like you're trying to control everything, and if everything was perfect, I would be fine. But what it really does, studies show, is increases your stress level. And so
Right.
learning to accept that not everything can be perfect, and that's okay. And you did your best. So all you can do is set your plant up for the best outcome,
Kind of like
and
your
then there's,
kid.
yeah, same,
If
and
you see
like,
me going back and forth, my dog is dreaming and she's kicking me. So I
oh,
apologize.
yeah,
She's
that's
running in her
okay.
sleep. So I apologize. I'm not having any
My
kind of
son is
fit or
still
anything.
sleeping over there, so
We're getting lucky for
you
now.
know, yeah,
I was going to go back and look at this article and make sure. Oh,
Well, how about the
developing a
growth
growth.
mindset?
That's what
Yeah.
I was just going to say. Growth mindset.
Jinx, twinnies.
Yeah, I know. We're always twinning.
Yeah, a growth mindset. Um, Maybe you know the name, but there's a certain psychologist that kind of like coined this term, and a growth mindset is basically, so our, especially people that suffer with mental health issues, they think of it like a hamster wheel, this rumination. And that just means you're thinking of the same things over and over. And usually, when people ruminate, it's usually on a possible bad outcome or something that happened in the past. But also, people worry about things that haven't even happened. I suffer with PTSD. So part of that is worrying about things that have not even happened yet. And so your mind gets on this hamster wheel, and it just goes around and around and around. And so creating a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset is something has to be this way and this is the way it is. A growth mindset means that we assume that we are constantly learning. And so instead of saying it has to be this way, and I wanted my garden to look like this shape, this clover leaf, and if
Yeah.
say it comes out and it's just one of these grew, by just one of these growing, I can say, okay, so these ones didn't work, and I'm going
Right.
to need to learn how to get all of these into my
To
picture.
grow.
And
Right.
that's a growth mindset, assuming that instead of assuming that you can't do this, it's never going to work, that's a fixed mindset. A growth mindset is something you can adopt, and it will change your life. I promise it will change your life. And I learned that by accident. First I wanted to save the world with plants, then I had a major injury that changed my whole life, and then I was immobile for a long time. And I
Right.
thought, what can I do? And so that's when I got into houseplants. I never used to care about houseplants before,
Really?
but
So just about 5 years ago.
yeah, I didn't care about houseplants, not one twig.
Wow.
Like
Oh, you're
I
very
really did not
knowledgeable.
care. Well,
It
I've
seems
had a
like
lot
you've
of
been doing this all
practice.
your life.
No, I started my first year. I graduated the last time in 2015, and so that winter I was bored, and so I read like pretty much every organic gardening book you could out of the library. And I
Wow.
have like, I don't know, probably I have like 5 or 6 of these notebooks filled with just plant
Me
notes.
too. Yeah.
And
Not with peanuts, though.
yeah, well, minor plant stuff mostly,
Yeah.
but I learned a lot. And but then when I went outside, I realized that I didn't have any of those hands-on experiences. So I had to learn all that through
Sorry.
trial and error. That's okay. Is that your dog?
No, it's the
Oh,
DUI sickle next door.
oh,
The guy on
nice.
the moped. Here it goes.
Yeah.
Hang on. It's almost.
So if you can learn to attribute instead of a failure, we all make failures. We all fail at something. I fail at many things. I
I
happen to
fail
be
on a
good at
regular
gardening.
basis.
Yeah. And instead of saying I'm a failure, you know what I mean? You have to change the way you think. And so, like, what I say is like, stop it and replace it. So as soon as you start to think that way, you just want to nip it in the butt, stop it right there. I'm learning. That's it. That's just making that one change will change your life. And that's learning to accept yourself for who you are, accept your capabilities for what they are currently. Like I used to be able to do a lot more. I used to have a lot more money economically. And so I felt like my health overall and my wellness decreased because I wasn't able to provide economically like I did for my children before. But if
Right.
now in this growth mindset, instead of thinking things like that, I can say, well, that didn't work and I can't do it anymore. What can I do?
Right.
And a
Right.
growth mindset is helpful, not even in plants, in basketball, in any in YouTube, like, okay, this video
Yeah.
wasn't like I liked it, but what can I do to increase, you know, my feelings about my videos or my feelings about my viewer videos? And that's a growth mindset instead of saying, well, I already know all that. And, there's, oh,
Right.
I'm a pro and, I've got it all figured out. Well, most of us don't. I mean, that's just the reality is
Yeah.
most of us do not, and having a
What
growth mindset will help you deal with that.
What is Shinrin Yoku?
That is okay. So in America, we have our own values. And in a lot of other countries, there are higher values regarding plants. So plants are higher up on the hierarchy of needs. And
Are we talking about
also,
Maslow?
yes. And so,
I had
in a lot
a
of,
stray cat named Maslow because I just took care of his basic needs. I fed him and watered him and gave him shelter.
yeah. And, that's part
Yeah.
of it. And so, but in other cultures, being with nature is more pronounced. So, that the name that you just said, I don't have it on my screen, but it's a
Shinrin
Japanese
Yoku,
word.
I think.
Yeah, and it means forest bathing. And so in forest bathing, one of the things you do is you take off your shoes, and you just immerse yourself in your surroundings. And when you go to your surroundings, you don't listen to podcasts or listen to YouTube and watch videos, you're really trying to tune in with others in your environment. So the trees around you, the plants around you, the birds around you, and so you don't always have to tune into human beings because we get human beings everywhere, really. You know what I mean?
Right.
Online and everywhere. But bathing in green is when you actually try to connect with the world and the ecosystem around you. And studies show that there are many benefits of this as well. These are Eastern studies, but it's up to you to decide, well, if because somebody is in Japan, do I think that their information is any less valuable? You see what I mean?
Right.
Just because it's
Yeah.
not publicized in America, there are many other cultures around the world that have been doing this literally for generations, literally since the time of the emperors. They had their own, every king or queen has a garden. Every king
Yes.
or queen had a garden, and so people enjoy these things. It's just when people became living close together and large populations and industrial revolution, that's when we kind of lost our sense of um, space. in the world. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so having a garden, yes, like grounding. That's exactly what it's like. And so, you just take a few moments, you take in breaths, you feel the air going in and out of your lungs, you look at the flowers. Studies show that just looking at the fractile like shapes on the plant actually improve and reduce the risk of dementia. And so again, they're not exactly sure why, but these patterns, just looking at the different patterns on the leaf base and things, you can see the stems, you can see all the little part going
Interesting.
out. Just doing that can help reduce your chances of dementia.
Wow, that's really interesting. I did see when I was looking things up, of course, it's not in the article because it's more on the medical side of things, but that's kind of where I live. So
Hmm.
I, you know, but vitamin D,
Hmm.
when we are outdoors and we're planting or whatever it is we're doing, we're also getting vitamin D. And vitamin D helps mood, it decreases depression, anxiety, um, and all kinds of wonderful things.
I
They're
had
asking me to
somewhere in
lower my,
here.
they're asking me to turn down my volume. I'm
Oh,
wondering,
well, I don't know how to do that.
okay, I'm sorry. So I'm
Okay,
going to
the
do that real
skin.
quick, Amber, while you're talking. I don't want you to
Okay,
think I'm ignoring you.
so when
I'm going to try
people
to,
think of plants get their energy from the sun, and that's called photosynthesis. So plants get their energy from the sun, and then they use that to fuel the metabolic processes in their body. But us human beings, we also are capable of photosynthesizing, and we can't get all of our. That's
uh-oh.
my. Yeah. That's we can't get all of our energy from the sun. We're not as lucky as plants, but we do produce and metabolize vitamin D. And
Yes.
so, being the skin uses sunlight to make vitamin D. 1/2 hour can be 8,000 to 50,000 international units of vitamin D,
Wow. Wow.
depending
Wow. Wow.
on your, uh, depending on how much, excuse me, how much melanin you have in
Melanin.
your skin, and
Yes.
also how much of your skin you have exposed. So if you're covered all but your hands and your feet, you're not going to photosynthesize as much vitamin D as if,
Right.
I went outside in my t-shirt and my shorts. And you always have to balance that risk, that health benefit with the risk of skin cancer. So even if you put on
Right.
sunscreen, you can still get the benefits of vitamin D.
Yes. You'll still get that UV light, even though
And that's in
you're
one
blocking
half
out some of
hour.
the,
That's 30 minutes a day.
wow. And so
Yeah.
that's what, 30 minutes every day, or one 30-minute session gives you up
Just
to
once a
50?
day, gives you 80,000 to 50,000 international units. And it's vitamin D is important for hundreds of body functions, not just mental health and, grow your bones and get big and strong.
Right.
It's also for studies show it has reduced risk of breast cancer, colorectal cancer, bladder cancer, prostate cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, multiple sclerosis, and like I said, you do have to balance it with the risk of skin cancer. So somebody that is more fair, okay, somebody that is more fair, may want to be like in some shade, but they still get that. And vitamin D also, I don't know if you guys realize this, is really important to help protect your body against COVID. So
Yes. Yes. It
that's a
does
newer
because
study, you know?
it repairs cells. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing about vitamin D is it's an immune booster.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that depends on your immune system, whether that's fighting off colds or flus or whether that's fighting off cancer,
Mm-hmm.
vitamin D is going to contribute to, in differing amounts depending on the type of cancer or type of illness that you're trying to fight off. But
Uh-huh.
and it's great for all kinds of stuff. So some, if you can't get it from the sun, of course, there are foods with vitamin D in it, but the sun's the quick and easy way to get the most absorbable vitamin
Yeah.
D.
And it's natural. It's if you
Yeah.
take a pill or something, first of all, they're not regulated by the FDA. You know, vitamins are not regulated by the
Mhm.
FDA. So
Yeah.
they don't have to go through these strict processes that our medications do. And so it's much easier to produce a vitamin and to get people to buy it because they want to be healthy, you know? And so it's a business. And you're not necessarily getting it in a usable form. You're also not necessarily being able to uptake it all. And so a lot of it is being excreted, you know, through
Right.
urine or other processes. But the best way that you can ensure your health is 30 minutes a day of mild to moderate activity. And that hits your vitamin D, that hits your exercise goal. And in doing so, you're going to be growing food. And if you can grow your own food, it will be healthier.
And that
So it
brings
hit
us to kind
all.
of, yeah, what Cold Truth was saying, that chlorophyll balances pH. And so, you're doing two things. So you're growing this stuff. It doesn't have to be food, but it can be food. And if it's food, then you're eating healthy too. So you're
Yeah, I
getting
grow a lot
all
of
these
edible
benefits.
flowers every
Oh,
summer,
we,
and
as a
I do
kid,
that
I
just for
used
the
to get
kids.
sent out
Yeah.
to pick, I had to pick dandelion leaves for
Yeah,
salad.
well, I grow nasturtiums, bachelor buttons. There are a lot of plants that
Wow.
are edible.
Let's clear
Hmm.
something up because everyone thinks that you grow weed.
No, I don't grow weed.
Okay. I wanted to
Okay,
make sure.
I never have. I've never tried to,
Yeah.
I don't really
Everybody
know
always says
anything
it
about
too.
it. Yeah, everyone always
Yeah.
thinks that I grow weed. I really like green,
Yeah.
and I guess I would support medical marijuana for a lot
Yeah.
of people, but again, you have to outweigh your risks and your benefits.
Right.
Some people, it's a less risk and the benefits will outweigh those risks. Now, if you're going to be smoking, just smoking all day long and you're going to throw away your lungs, then that's really not, you can't, you still will get the benefits, but you're causing damage as well if you're smoking it because of the combustion. That's the problem with
Right.
smoking
The
marijuana. But if you can get it
carcinogen.
in other ways, like CBDs, through tinctures, there's a lot of ways that you can get the benefits of marijuana without actually smoking marijuana. But I personally,
Edibles.
yeah, for my health benefits, for specific health benefits, I chose to stop using medical marijuana. But
Right.
that's because I want to climb mountains, that I'm going to be 7,000 feet up. And so smoking would have decreased my ability
Ooh,
to
with the
stay in
altitude.
those areas. Right. And so for
Yeah.
me, that's why I did it, but I've never grown it. I don't know how. And I promised my kids I wouldn't until it was legal. So,
Right.
I'm not really
So,
that sad about
okay.
it.
So myth busted. Okay. So
Yes.
now we can go on with
But
life and say
doctors
it's
think that
official.
too about me. I've been to hospitals with my son and he's having breathing trouble. And, I asked about allergies and I said, well, I have like 5 foot trees by my bed. And they just automatically assume that I'm talking about marijuana plants, which is not actually a tree, but whatever. But, so I've had things like that happen to me. And I don't know if it's because
A
I'm wearing green
5 foot
all the
marijuana
time
plant. I wouldn't.
by
I
my
That's
bed,
nothing.
though.
That's
Like,
nothing to sneeze at. No pun
no,
intended.
yeah, I had a ficus though, and
Oh, I love ficus. They're so hard to grow. They're
I had a fiddle
temperamental.
leaf ficus, yeah,
Oh,
and
it's
mine was
beautiful.
about 5 feet tall, in its pot, and it was right beside my bed for a long time. And they do excrete like a sap that's
Mm-hmm.
white. And if it gets on your hands and stuff, it can cause irritation. If a dog ate it or something, it could cause
Yeah.
irritation. So I was wondering when I asked the doctors, even though
Could it
this
be that?
plant like hasn't right, could that be like leaching from the in the air? And my son is always in bed sick, you know. So is
Right.
that maybe something? And they just completely write me off as crazy. So, you know.
Yeah, and growing weed. Oh, so you've got 5 foot marijuana plants in your room. Okay, check. Yeah,
Yeah,
CPS.
they did. They sent CPS to my house. When I
Oh
got
my.
home, CPS came. I was like, oh
Oh
no,
my
I have many, many plants, but I don't have any marijuana growing.
Oh my Lord. Well, so there was one last thing that article mentioned, and it's being present. How
Yes.
do plants help you do that?
Being present is like, okay, being present is, it's like you get satisfaction out of where you are currently, not where you're going to be, not where you are before, it's where am I currently in my life? And having a garden will help you feel like you have a protected space to be present. So if you go to the park or something, there's people, I'm nervous around people. So I'm like, oh, I try to go where there's no people. But, that's one of my own issues. But having a garden outside my door, like a patio garden, or even just a few plants on your front porch, it's somewhere that you can go and it's like sanctuary. You don't have to go to church. Well, I can't,
That's a
that
little
sounds
bit
bad,
like,
but you can
no,
go to church.
I get what you're
But
saying. Yeah,
it's like another form of sanctuary
yeah,
where you can be in touch with your feelings. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this?
mm,
Why am I feeling overwhelmed? Why am I feeling stressed? And it's someplace that you can go to and check your present feeling and take a survey. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Just sit down and take a survey of your life presently, and
That it's a
apply your
lot like
growth
grounding.
mindset. Like, where do I want to be? Where did I come from? This is, people get stressed like things happen in the past and things that happen in the future. Except for acute things, like if you're in a car accident, that's an acute thing. And so that's a presently something bad is happening, But most of the time, mental health problems are from things that happen in the past that affect our future, or things that we're afraid that are going to happen in the future affect our present. Do you see what I
Right.
mean? And so if
Mm-hmm.
you can identify where you are
Right.
presently, it's a really good place to begin your mental health journey.
And also just being in the moment,
Yes.
setting the phone down and letting all those distractions go, being in the moment, grounding yourself, you know, and um, just being really aware of
Your self
how,
awareness.
yeah, yourself. Yeah.
And some people
And
don't think of themselves as, um, important, or like, like I have a self that I can control some of the things that are going on. And being present is part of that. You have to learn to be present in order to help self heal yourself.
yes, yeah, because you can't self heal if you aren't even present and aware of what's going on with
No, if you're
yourself. Yeah.
always worrying about what's in the future, and being present forces you. Sometimes it might take a while. May not happen overnight. So like if you got a plan and then you try to sit with it for a few minutes each day, and then like you're like, it's like meditating. It's like a
Yeah.
muscle. You have to practice it. And the more you practice being present, the more you will feel the benefits of it and become more self-aware. So, some people meditate, some people go to church, and that's how they connect with themselves and with others. Plant gardening is another healthy support system that you can call on. So even if you're
Mm-hmm.
having a really bad day and your family is, you don't have those traditional supports, you can go somewhere where your plants are, or a place where there is nature, and you can still be present even without those traditional sense of support systems.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
nature's everywhere. Even if you
Yeah.
don't, like me, I have like I don't know, I have like 5 or 6 houseplants now. But even when I only had one, like it
Yeah.
still is every day. It was something I looked at.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on in
Soil.
here? What is this
Right.
telling me? What is this
Yeah.
plant telling me?
Yeah. Uh, I think Mel asked about plants for air purification in the home. And my
Hmm.
understanding is plants, any plant that has lots of leaves, lots of smaller leaves or parts of leaves, are better at air purification than those with just one solid large leaf. Is that correct?
Well, all plants to some degree will improve the air quality.
Right.
to some degree because they're using the carbon dioxide. And so
Right. But some are better
those
at it than others, right?
some are better than others, but you want to just first of all think about any plant is an improvement. Okay,
Yeah.
so just having any plant is an improvement over not having
That's
any.
true.
And
That's
then
true.
there are formaldehyde based toxins, trichloroethylene based toxins, and benzene based toxins. And so if you want to eliminate one of these specifics, there are different plants that do that differently based on which
Oh,
kind of toxins they can eliminate. And so,
that's interesting. I love that
let's
you're
see.
checking your handy dandy notebook
Oh
and
yeah,
that you've
I
got
this
all this
is
stuff in there. Oh,
actually
that's something completely different.
yeah, this is what I just got this the other day, and it's about making your plants green, and it's actually just about air quality because that's one of the questions that's really common.
Really?
Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
like, if you go online and said plants good for air quality, probably you'll get 20 different websites that say 20 different plants.
Yeah.
But having one way to communicate to somebody instead of saying, this one is this and this one is that. I don't know specifically because I'm not a biochemist. You know what I mean? But I can tell you that for these three toxins, these are the ones that work best. So a peace lily is one of them that's really good.
Oh,
And they do
really?
have a lot of foliage. If you think about it,
Yeah.
they are mostly foliage most of the
They're
time,
all, yeah.
Yeah, and they can get big, and the more surface area that the plant has, the more apt it will be at removing toxins because the more carbon dioxide it will need to fuel its body.
Wait,
Does that make
I'm
sense?
sorry. Yeah, that made sense, but I missed what you said. What
The
type of
surface
plant?
area. Oh, okay. Let me
Oh,
read
the
you some
surface
more.
area. Okay. No, no, no.
Yeah.
I get that. Okay. So the more surface
Um,
area you've got, then so that makes sense why if you have multi-lobe plant leaves, you have more surface area perhaps
right.
than
hmm
one smaller leaf. Okay.
That's the same. Yeah.
So
But
and
it's
with the
not
ferns,
necessarily
they
that
have
one plant
essentially
is
leaves
better.
all the way down their stem,
Right.
and so
Right.
that's a lot of surface area.
Yeah. Just having the more toxins you have in your environment, the more plants you would need in order to clean your environment. So if you're a smoker, you know what I mean, or if you were smoking medical marijuana, for that example, you would want to increase the amount of plants you have in your room to help kind of alleviate some of those um,
Yeah,
toxins that would be released
I better
as
get
part
more
of your
plants.
medicinal. Yeah, that's what I mean. Some other common ones are, I don't know if you guys know what a Chinese evergreen is, but they're a lot like a peace lily. They have a lot of variegation in the leaves, and their leaves are kind of like gummy feeling. So a
Okay,
Chinese evergreen is really good. Any Dracaena species,
what's
which
that?
are a Dracaena has more like a single stalk and then a whole bunch of little tiny leaves that go out that look
Okay.
less like traditional leaves and look more like little sticks almost, but they're just
Oh,
linear
okay.
in
Yeah,
shape. And so like you'll
I've
see
got
them grow like a
I've
corn
got one of
plant
those.
or yeah.
Yeah,
Ficus, philodendron, everybody knows the philodendron.
philodendron. Yeah,
Sanservia is a snake plant or a
yeah,
mother-in-law's tongue, some people call them.
yep.
Those are
Got
really
those.
good.
Yeah.
Bamboo palms, golden
Oh,
pothos, ivies, and those daisies, chrysanthemums. But those are less common house plants, like indoor house
they're
plants.
more
Those are more
outdoor.
common. Yeah,
Yeah,
but those are the
but
ones
they
that are
do. They have a
listed in
lot of leaves.
this. Yeah, and
That's really cool.
it says plants offer $14.51 return on their investment per 100 square foot each month.
Wow. In what way?
Because of the just the
Filtration.
biomediating, yeah, just by
Okay.
biomediating the toxins.
Okay.
Oh, leaf spray or leaf shine.
Have you ever seen that
Um,
stuff?
yes. So it's like hairspray or like anything you would put on your hair. If you look
It's
into
almost
it,
like a
there's
wax, like waxing your car.
yeah, but if you read what's on the back of your like hair products, a lot of it has alcohol, a lot of it has all these chemicals in it. And so while it makes
Mhm.
your hair look shiny and healthy on the outside, it's actually damaging on the inside. So you want to make sure that you're reading your plant labels to see what you're putting into your plants, just like you would what are you putting onto your body. So a
Couldn't
healthier
you use
plant,
something natural to shine your leaves, like a little bit of
um,
coconut oil or something,
well,
or does
the
that
thing
block
is
what it's supposed to do?
a leaf is, it looks like it's flat, and it looks like it's dense and, firm, but actually there's a whole bunch of tiny little holes that are in the leaves, and that's where the air flow goes in. And
Air
so some
exchange.
plants are more prone to like environmental, like dust. Some plants, if they
Yeah,
get dusty, will do poorly. Some plants, if they
yeah,
get water on them. So I
like
would
violet.
say I would do a leaf shine if you're doing a photo shoot. Maybe if I'm making a YouTube video, if you're a professional, you're doing Instagram photos or something, then I would say definitely you can use that, and it probably wouldn't hurt your plant on a case by case scenario. But
Right.
I would
I
say
used
in
to use
general,
it.
plants should be really, I've never used it, but I'm sure it works amazing. You know what I mean? But
It looks
in,
beautiful, but I stopped using it just because of what you said. I thought, wait a minute, this has to block its natural functions. It's like a wax on there. I mean, it's,
yeah,
you
I
know,
wouldn't. I'm guarantee you some plants would not respond as well to others, and it
oh,
has a
if you
lot to
put
do
that on
with,
a violet, that'd be the end of it.
yeah. Do you know? And some of them also, if you put something
How
that's
did I know you were going
waxy
to
on your
pick up a
plant,
violet? Did you pick up a
if you
violet?
no, that's my prayer plant. I just wanted to
Oh, that's your
have a
prayer.
few to
Oh,
show people when I'm
it looks,
talking because
it
I'm like,
grows a little
I
bit
talk
like a
with my
violet.
hands. Yeah,
Oh, Mel asked earlier how big the prayer plants go. I think it was Mel or somebody asked how big those prayer plants get, and those are really good for oxygen too, for air quality. Prayer plants
this
are.
plant, this particular plant will get about probably 12 to 18 inches, but it won't have a lot of height, but eventually it'll start draping.
It
And so
spreads out,
most prayer plants um, don't have as much height, and they're really good for hanging baskets.
and they
But
get
there are
bushy. Yeah,
some stromanthes and that have a more upright growing habit and have showier leaves, and they don't drape quite as much, and they can get really larger. And so it also depends on how big. It's kind of like a fish. If you put it in a bowl, will it get, if you put it in a tub though, it might get really large, you know what I mean?
right.
And so a plant is like that too. A plant can only get as big as its root system will allow it to support its growth. So healthy roots make a healthy plant. And so you
Yeah,
have to think, the more plant health is a lot mostly to do with soil health. And
yeah,
so having really healthy soil is really important to having a really healthy plant. And
yeah,
healthy soil will make a plant more resilient. We want to grow resilient human beings and resilient plants. But they can
right.
take rain reduction. They can take lack of sun or too much sun better if they are healthy and resilient. And they should be, a lot of plants, if you really want shiny leaves, then go for a plant that naturally has that sheen.
Shiny leaves. Yeah,
Yeah, because not all plants are meant to be shiny. And
yeah,
also, it
yeah.
would collect dust. So even if your plant shine didn't block those little tiny aerial holes, then the dust could, it would also be easier to get leaf fungus and things like that. I would imagine the more you
Mm-hmm.
input, the less you can input on the plant, the better. Do you see what I mean?
Yes. Yes, I got it.
And
So we've been on for about an hour, and I don't want to keep you. And you know, but
isn't it
aw,
beautiful?
I should have brought
I wish I had
plants up.
better
I don't know
lighting.
what I was
I ordered
thinking.
some lights, but
It's
they're
those,
plant
that is
lights,
beautiful.
not YouTube lights. Not
Well, you
but
know,
this is one of
whatever.
my favorites. Like it's just like even on the backside, it's just so
The bottom of the
beautiful.
leaves are
And
beautiful.
the sound of it, the sound of leaves
The feel of
in the
it too, that
wind.
bushiness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's amazing. And
begonias.
this is kind of the
They
size
smell
that
good. The
this
leaves
prayer
smell
plant
good.
gets. It gets very
Oh yeah,
similar growth habit to this,
yeah.
except that it
Good
will
call.
drape more, but
Right.
this is about, the size that a prayer plant can get. It may not be quite as full, but it will have a really similar growing pattern. So some plants are like
Yeah.
prostrate, and then some plants grow more like supine and up.
Erect.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
erect. So a prayer plant is
You just didn't want to
kind of
say
like,
erect.
yeah.
I'm sure.
You know, I'm sure there's a better plant word for that, but it's slipping my mind.
I said it. It's bad. Yeah. And
Yes.
it was a bad
And
joke on
then
top
this
of
one
it.
says,
So
I'm
sorry,
rooting for
guys.
you. So,
Oh, that's so
healthy root systems
cute.
is like having a healthy heart and having a healthy
Oh,
cardiovascular system in a person, And
and
so if
your
you can
body
think
health
of that,
affects your mental health. Yeah.
right, if you can think
Yeah.
about that, healthy roots make healthy plants and healthy veins make a healthy person. So we're not really
Yeah.
that different.
Well, we're an ecosystem just like a plant in a pot
Yes,
is,
we are. Yes, we
you
are. We're
know?
a complete organisms, a
Yes.
colony of organisms working together.
Yes.
There's bacteria, there's viruses in our body all the time, there's fungus all
Fungus.
over us all the time. And
Yeah.
so the the goal is to be able to create a homeostasis level of health, and in
Yeah.
order to do that, we have to address, for instance, I'm more like less likely to get COVID if I keep better care of my lungs, if I take better
Right.
care of my kidneys, if I take better care of, all of these things. That's how you make a healthy person, and that's the same way that you make a healthy plant.
And the plant, we make the plants healthy and the plants make us healthy. So
That's
it's a
right.
symbiotic
There's
relationship.
nothing, yeah,
Wonderful.
unless you're like getting exposed to some really rare plants, or like you ate a plant, there really aren't any bad benefits of having a plant near you.
Yeah. No.
Hug a plant.
Well,
Yeah.
so for the people who are coming in, hi, Teresa. Well, we're getting ready to end the stream anyway, Teresa. And Dana, thank you for coming over. So
Sorry, my
everybody make sure
laptop
to
died
hit
a while ago.
the thumbs up button and
Subscribe,
also
leave a comment down
subscribe.
below, share with your friends.
Yes, but subscribe to Amber's channel and it's called Grow Baby Grow. The description or the link is in the description of this video.
Oh, thank
So
you.
yes,
I'm
you're welcome.
editing my first video. I did this instead today, and I did some yard
Yeah,
work, but
I
I'm
interrupted her
learning
process.
to edit.
Yeah.
I have the video
And
done itself. I just have to learn how to put the audio in the video and make it line up together. So I'm hoping
yes,
to have my first video out this weekend, and then after that, I have a schedule. So probably like once a week or so. And I'm gonna
that's
have a pet series for all you pet
I know.
people.
I've got to send you
So
pet pictures. So everybody send
yes,
her pet pictures for
yep.
her pet series.
If
And
you want your pet
also,
to be featured in the
yep.
next pet series.
And I was going to tell you, after a couple days here, I can show you how to download this video, how to yank it off of YouTube, and you can put it on
Okay.
your channel so you've got something up there.
Thank you so much, because I have no idea how to do
Uh,
that. So
yeah, it's super easy and literally, like, I was like, oh my gosh, all this time, this is how easy it is. Oh my Lord, I felt so embarrassed. But so it's super
well, you
easy.
look
And
amazing.
oh, you look pretty too.
Thank
We got all
you.
dressed up and pretty.
I'm wearing green, because I'm a plant lady. So
Well, I probably should have worn. I made our thumbnail green because
I saw.
yeah, I was real proud of
You look
that. I love
great.
ferns, so yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I've never made a thumbnail, so we'll try it. And
You look
yeah,
amazing. I mean, round of applause.
yeah. So Dana wants to know how to send a pic of Blondie. So let me put my Discord because you don't have a Discord up yet, right, Amber?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, so or do you have a way that you want them to reach you, or do you want me to? How do you want me to
They
do
can
that?
post it to your Discord, or they can email me. Let's see.
Okay. What's your email address? And I'll type it in here.
It's Amber Rose, and then the letter G like girl, B like boy, G like girl for Grow Baby Grow at Gmail.
Okay, so there's that. And then here's
And
the
if you want your
Discord.
pet's name, make sure you say the name on there.
Oh, cute. Wait, where did it doesn't want, oh, there we go. And that's the Discord link. So
Join us
usually,
below.
yeah, usually we're over there in Discord and multiple channels. So we won't just leave you hanging if you come over to Discord. We'll invite you to wherever it is we're talking at that point.
Come join the
And
club.
we're such a fam. I mean, honestly, Teresa, Allie, Chris, Nick, everybody is just really good to
Thank you
each
for coming
other.
out,
And
everyone. I can't see because
yeah,
my laptop died, but I know that you know that I know that you're there. So
yes. And then Kaleidoscope, I think, just posted a link to your channel. Thank you,
oh,
Kaleidoscope. I
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I don't
Look at
even
my
have
mod.
mods yet.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have this video. So
Oh yeah, I don't even know how to make mods, so there's so much that
look,
I have to learn, but I'm in a growth
it's
mindset, so I'm okay with that.
oh, look, yes, that's right. Yep. So you just got 2 new subscribers, Dana
Yay!
and yes, and
Hello,
Teresa, and
friendlies.
yes, and you guys, Amber's awesome. She's very knowledgeable about plants and has been through a lot herself, and has kind of what I've kind of gathered from talking to Amber is plants and gardening has been one of your coping mechanisms throughout,
Yeah,
like your
it was
your
one of the
injury.
things that kept me literally sane when a lot of other people, may not have had the same outcome as me, but that growth
Yeah,
mindset pushed me every single day to learn more.
yeah. And you
Thank
did
you.
awesome. Annie said you did awesome. You did, and
Thank
um,
you.
it's easy when
I'm
we're
so
with
glad
friends.
that you had me on. I really feel like it's pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is where you grow. Most
Right,
people grow best when they're pushed a little bit past their comfort zone. And
with
so with you
friction.
like
Yeah,
inviting me on, I was like, I
yeah,
don't know what to say. I don't have a channel yet, but
yeah.
just
But we're gonna
I
get
want to
this.
appreciate
Yeah.
you and let you know that
Well,
I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
oh, thank you. Well, I wanted to make sure that because your channel, all of the ideas that I've been hearing you talk about, you're going to have some pretty amazing stuff on there. And so it's a channel that I really believe in. And so I wanted to,
Thank
get
you.
behind you on this and really get that out there and you're not so knowledgeable on it. And so
Well,
I
I've had a
couldn't
lot
think
of
of a better
experience.
person. Yeah.
That's what that's where I gained most of my knowledge was through experience. So, hands-on experience with the good, the bad, the ugly, and what are we going to make pretty out of it? What can we do?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and so Kaleidoscope wants to know, do you want them to put your Facebook link in here or just leave it with
I
your
have a
email for now?
specific I have a Facebook page that I'm working on that's just for the channel. I don't know if you guys
Okay.
have that link yet, but not my like personal Facebook because
Okay.
there's like family and stuff on there.
Is it in Discord or anything?
Probably not because I don't even know what it is
Okay.
yet. But eventually there will be. I do have. There's an Instagram and a Facebook that I'm going
How
to
about,
link to the channel so that people can
yeah.
take pictures and then connect with their community and people all over the world. Show everybody what you're doing. When you grow your first plant, when you grow your first baby seed, it's a big thing. You know.
Yeah. And oops, I'm just letting them know what your channel name is. And what you can do is after you get the Facebook page and Instagram, come back, put in a comment, put those links, and then I'll pin it. So
Okay.
then that way all of your information is really available to everybody and all of your locations
Thank
and
you.
social
Yeah, and then
media and
we
all
can
that.
start keeping up with each other. There's things that I
Yeah.
can learn from you, just like there's things that you can learn from me because we've all
Well, we
grown
can all
different
learn
things.
from you. Yeah.
That's the whole point, is
Yeah.
not everybody has to be a farmer to save the world. Not everybody has to grow tomatoes to save the world. The world needs more people that are caring. They need more doctors, they need lawyers, they need care attendants, they need electricians, we need builders. And so we need an entire community to help save the world, not just plant
Yeah.
people. Kind of
Yep.
like true
Takes a
crime,
village.
So I
Yeah, we've
wasn't
got this. Yeah.
always a true
Oh,
crime person, you
hey, you
know.
true
So
crimer, you true crimers. I'm going to say this, and then we'll close it out. Amber is working on a plant forensic
botany,
video
yeah.
and botany. Okay, you tell, because I don't know what I'm
Okay.
talking about.
I want to have, because I got my YouTube start in crude crime, but I was using true crime as a way to learn, really, to how to start a plant video. And so, one way I want to connect with my true crime community is once a month, I'd like to have a show where it's after later past bedtime for kids, you know, and it has 18 plus, and we'll talk about forensic botany. And that is way that plants and plant substances are used to help solve crimes.
That is so cool. That will be so much fun. Tying it in with the true crime
Yeah.
nuts and
I'll make sure that I'm not like overlapping other people's spots, you know, and things like
oh
that.
please. I don't think there's any way to avoid that. I have tried. I have
Yeah.
sat and watched people and then I'm like, oh, okay, so now they're done. And I go to get on, and then sure enough, somebody else pops on. It's like, oh no. So you can't avoid it. You know, you
Yeah.
just have to choose a time, go with it. And if somebody else happens to be doing it at the same time, you know, it's just one of those things. It's,
Thank
yeah.
you, Ann.
So
She's so sweet. Y'all have been so sweet to me. Even though I'm
she
a plant
is, they
person,
all,
y'all have
I
been
know.
so sweet. So
And oh, and Cold Truth wants everyone to write your doggy hero story and send it to her at coldtruthpodcast@gmail.com. She's collecting stories of hero dogs.
awesome.
And that's not important. Sorry about that. Okay. All right, you guys. Well, Amber, it has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
And
for
you
having
guys,
me.
thank you for being here and for supporting Amber, supporting me. And as always, to our luminaries, we love you. You're the family that we chose with our heart. And so thank you very much for being here. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Let
Have a
me end
great
the broadcast.
day. Okay.